Welcome back. Now, with the 2019 national and presidential elections fast approaching, political parties are gearing themselves up to garner the support of as many people as they can. Now, joining us to look at Namibia's political landscape ahead of November's elections, I'm joined by Dr. Hoze Riruako. Good morning, Doctor, and welcome to GMN.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
Very well. Let's talk about the political landscape in Namibia at the present. What do you make of it?
I think the biggest thing is that it's not going to be business as usual again. A lot of things are happening, as we shall talk about. There's no doubt that this is a very eventful year, but also a quite interesting one. Some of the reason why I'm saying that it's not going to be business as usual, the dynamics within the country, it's changing. As you know that in the past, for the past 28 years, many people were still caught up in their support for their party, you know, the loyalty to the political parties and so on. And we are seeing now that people are growing out of that. They are putting more pressure on their leaders. Some of them are going to the extent of even rebuking their leaders publicly. So we have seen a growth in the thinking and understanding of the political system within the Namibian people themselves, the voters and so on. But what is causing most of this thing is that the majority of Namibians have become very open-minded. And of course, as you know, the age factor is now another issue, where you have the traditional elder voters, royalty and blindly following a given political cause. The youngsters are very much open to many ideas, and they're exposed to a number of things. And of course, the issue of gender, the economic reality that we are facing, but most pivotal also the influence of technology, and especially the social media.
Is this a natural shift, or is it too abrupt a shift?
What seems to be a political abnormality, it's in fact a political normality. All political parties, whether it is in Namibia, whether it is abroad, they go through a progression stage. It's a transformational phase. And in Namibia, these have started way back. I cited the example of about 3 political parties, some of the elders. If I start with SWANU, for instance, this is what gave rise to another sister party that became the NNF. And Nuto, for instance, it was a party, then it moved on to become part of the DTA umbrella. But before that, there was a breakaway called Nuto PP. And then, of course, the biggest one was SWAPO, where we saw the exodus of Andreas Chipanga very early in the formation of the party to form the SWAPO-D. And then from there, the Congress of Democrats, the RDP. But the most important thing that you must bear in mind is that either the political party will change and grow, or the individual politicians will outgrow their political party, or there could be squabbles or other things that will lead to this new formation.
Let's get into the specifics. We'll start with Mike Kavekatora, who was recently elected as the president of the Rally for Democracy and Progress. He served as a secretary general for the party and also an MP. What will he bring to the new role after serving as a SG and now as a president?
Mike is a very good friend. He's somebody I have known for years. I met him around between 84 and 85 in New York. In fact, we shared a house in New York. He's a US trained professional, a very well-seasoned politician. He's a highly qualified and highly intelligent person. Now, I was able to engage him in discussions, completely open-minded and receptive to different ideas and so on. But I think what he will bring to, and if you were to bring also his experience in the corporate world, I mean, rising from different position up to a CEO position of, NHE, for instance, as an example, This is a person I think will bring a well-seasoned type of experience to the leadership. But now, politics is a different animal. Yeah. You may have all the acumens that one can think of. You may have all the qualifications that you can think of. But unless you are able to attract and to resonate with the voters, it will be difficult for you to make your way. So I think his transformation by moving out of the corporate world and joining the RDP as a general secretary must have provided him with that experience. But the other thing also, this is one individual who had been able to zigzag between different political parties in the opposition. I think starting from Nudon DTA at the time, moving to SWAPO, then RDP. So I think he's vested with varied, experience that he can bring on board.
He promises that RDP will go back to being the official opposition party. He stated this when, of course, addressing after his victory. What needs to change within RDP for this to be
a lot need to change. See, the formation of RDP started as a party that was formed by disgruntled SWAPO leaders. And the good thing for the party at the time, it was poised, given the fact that this was stalwart from the party. They were in a unique position where they could penetrate the northern part of the country, which is the most populous part of the country. Something that many opposition parties were not able to do. As you know, go back to most political party formation. Usually, most of our political parties were formed on a ethnic and racial basis, and of which SWAPO, the biggest support base, was there. And it is that support base that it used. I'm worried about RDP making it a stance for themselves unless they can prove that they are credible alternative to SWAPO, and that has not been forthcoming.
Correct. Let's talk about PDM. The title this is a title that will not be easily, relinquished by the Popular Democratic Movement, PDM, which is now the official opposition, as it also have its site for the State House. How would you describe the evolution of PDM under the leadership of Mr. Venani? PDM has to do a very, very serious voter education. For it to become a household name like its prelude, the DTA, it will take a lot of effort from the young Venani and the other colleagues. I think it's an uphill battle. The other thing also, I'm convinced that its past will still hound the party for some time. But then on the positive side, even after the rebranding.
Yes, even after the well, the name is different, but the sign is still the same. I mean, the colors are still the same, and so on. But one thing unique about McHenry is that, and I think this claim can be attributed to his own political style, is the fact that he was able to move out of the cocoon of most of the opposition party and was able to reach quite a number of Namibians, especially the youth. Now, what some of us construe to be some gimmicks and hoax when he was like going to the squatting camps and bathing there and taking
living there, living anthropologist,
definitely living his luxury life behind. I think in a way it's paying dividends. Some people are now, I was talking to some youth at the university there who are now saying that at least he's closer to us, he can feel us, what we are feeling. And then the other thing also, his presence on the social media. And this is one of the biggest things that will tilt the political landscape in years to come. He's a youngster and he's able to use the social media to get around. And I think that in my opinion, it's a positive sign.
Okay. The election has also been defined or slated as a defining moment for the ruling party SWAPO, just like the counterparts in South Africa and CA, where they're saying the revolution, the parties that liberated the countries are being tested during these recent elections. What's your statement?
The history has it that over 30 years, about 30 years, revolutionary parties will always, lose that aura, that flavor that many enjoyed before independence, because they were the liberator, they brought independence, and so on. That seems to be dying out over years. But now the biggest problems that I have outlined for SWAPO, and they are enormous, they need to address those ones, is the fact that it seems like the party is at war with itself, pinning many comrades against other comrades. There is a noticeable division at this point, where you have Team SWAPO, you have Team Harambee, or Team Hake as being referred to. And I was surprised, if not perplexed, that the calling for the independent candidate came strictly or straight from SWAPO itself. And then the people also who have tried that, if you remember the Kaurivi experience in Chombinde constituency, he was a SWAPO candidate who went independent before even the public pronouncement. We now have the young lady in the north, we have Dr. Utala, who was himself working for the SWAPO party. So those are some of the challenges. And of course, with the coming of Dr. Hage Kainkop, we started hearing the ethnic or the racial ethnic card being played, and so on. So that's something. But on the positive side, however, SWAPO is, beside all this problem, it's able to resonate with the masses. In my opinion, it still supports quite a sizable support from the masses. It is still able to galvanize and mobilize grassroots-based voters, and it still get the lion's share of the votes. Last election gave the president over 86%, the party over 80%.
Correct. And finally, unfortunately, we're running out of time. The newer parties, for example, LPM, what do we expect from them?
Well, they're going to spice up the event. They're quite interesting. I think it's a good test to our democracy. But I think with the landless movement, some of the biggest challenges is that I think it started quite late in the process. The leading up to the election is going to be a challenge for them to prepare themselves thoroughly. There is a stigma that is associated with the party that is seen as if it is more of a southerner party, because that's what it started, encapsulated in the issue for driving, for land resolutions and so on. And also there was some overshore and overtones of some anti-northerners. People are coming from the north, they are taking our job. So that will force the party not to garner enough vote from that area. But I think their last Congress, they tried vehemently to address that, because that is how you can see in the representation within the
leadership.
It's a complete mix of that, and I think the other fact that it's also playing good for them, they hit on the issue of age. They want to bring more young people, and that is the thing to go. We have seen in our neighboring South Africa, for instance, the youngest minister, EFF, DA, everybody came with some voters who were as young as 20, 23. And of course, these are the most vocal group, the most affected group. I think it has a chance, but it needs a lot of homework to do.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm sure time is unfortunately not on our side, but we'll be inviting you back to talk about age and the use of technology in these campaigns, as well as the independent candidate phenomenon that is emerging suddenly. Thank you so much, Doc. There you have it. I was in conversation with political analyst, that is Dr. Hoze Riruako. He was talking to us about Namibia's political landscape ahead of the November elections. These are some of the interviews that will be continuing as the nation prepares itself for the elections in November. GMM will continue after this short break. Stay tuned.